Here's what's coming up on the First Take podcast. Which quarterbacks will shine this weekend in the NFL? Plus, how important was the Warriors' win against the Clippers? And it's Canelo versus Cotto. We'll tell you who wins big in Vegas. That and so much more coming up. Happy Friday. Appreciate you being with us here on First Take. To my left, Skip Bayless. Stephen A. joins us from Philly. Gentlemen, good morning.
What's up, LL Kurum? How are you doing? What's going on, Skip?
I'm good.
What's going on, man?
I cannot compete today with that outfit. It's over. No moss. I give up. You got me today. I'm just going along for the ride here. I'll just be your punching bag the rest of the day. I like it.
You like the fact that I rock no tie today?
Yep.
I thought I'd do it. I thought I'd do it as a tribute to Skip Bayless.
Yeah.
All right. I just tried to do it. I just tried to do a little something.
You can take that look anywhere on a Friday, Stephen A. And speaking of which, we have a fun show planned for you as we head into another big fight weekend. This time, it's Canelo versus Cotto, Puerto Rico versus Mexico. The guys will make their picks later. Looking forward to that. But first, Tony Romo will make his return from a broken collarbone Sunday against the Dolphins. The Cowboys lost all 7 games while Romo was out. And according to Elias, no team has ever made the postseason after being 2-7 or worse through 9 games. Skip.
Yes.
Will Romo sink or swim in Miami?
Stephen A. Smith, he will swim in Miami. He will swim back to shore. He will save this team from going under after 7 straight losses without Tony Romo. But I will say, before I give you all the whys of my argument, that if I am wrong, I will sit right here on Monday and I will say, I was dead wrong about the 2015 Dallas Cowboys. They are over, dead, and gone. That's what I will say on Monday if they lose. But they are not going to lose. Their season starts now. I love, and we just saw some clips of Tony Romo, love how bold he was all week this week. Love how he embraced the pressure of saving this season when a lot of franchise quarterbacks would say, now, wait a second, don't put it all on my shoulders after you guys lost 7 in a row. I love it how he tweeted out the clip from the movie Major League in which he sent the message to his teammates, there's only one thing left to do, win the whole thing. Maybe not win the Super Bowl, not yet, we're not quite there, but at least win a division that's begging to be won by the Giants and the Eagles and the Redskins. I love this team's chances right now because I really like the way, and Tony Romo said he liked the way this team played in 6 out of its 7 losses. It put itself in position to win those 6 games. It couldn't close the deal. As talented as it is, as well as it did play in spurts, it just needed one more big play from its quarterback. Just stay off the Whedon and Castle back to outhouse. It needed Tony Romo. And I will be the first to admit, Stephen A., this will not be easy because the Dolphins are coming off a big win at the Eagles. Ndamukong Suh, I don't know if you've noticed lately, is a terror on a tear over his last 5 games. He's got 4 sacks, 20 tackles, 8 disrupted dropbacks. He's a beast. He's a force. And I'll be the first to tell you, I'll admit it up front, Tony Romo's coming off a 2nd broken collarbone. Didn't even have surgery this time. They hoped it would heal on its own. It is still at risk. I'll be the first to tell you. But Sean Lee is coming back this week. I'm pretty sure he's going to play, and I hope he plays well. Des Bryant's been a little iffy on his foot, but I bet you he'll come back to life with Tony Romo back at quarterback. This team, as you know, plays its best on the road, so I like its chances at Miami. And in the end, Tony Romo's mere presence, I believe, will move the Cowboys to just leap right back into the saddle. They're about to ride again. Here they come, Stephen A. I'm going to go Dallas 27, Miami 23. Season starts now.
You know what, Skip Bayless, I appreciate the astute analysis.
Thank you.
It sounded objective. It sounded objective. It sounded devoid of the pom-pom cheerleading status that you customarily throw out there about your Cowboys. I'll give you credit for giving us the allure of objectivity there, but I'm not falling for it one bit. I understand that your heart is into this. You got to go this route. You got to ride Tony Romo, and you do have some plausible points to make. Miami is the 21st ranked ranked defense. They're 20th against the pass. They're the second to last, 31st against the rush, which means that it should be a big day for Mr. Darren McFadden himself. I get all of that, Skip Bayless, but a funny thing happened on the way to this studio thinking about doing this show with you. A funny thing has happened as I sat up there and I saw the quotes from Tony Romo. A funny thing happened, Skip Bayless. A funny thing happened when I sat up there and I thought about something here. I said, you know, as much as this game seems tailor-made for the Dallas Cowboys to win, if they are indeed the accident waiting to happen that I happen to know them to be and I have proclaimed religiously, considering all that bantering, all that talk, how Tony Romo is supposed to come and save the day, this is a beautiful time for them to lose. I mean, I can see it coming, Skip Bayless. I'm picking Miami to win this game. I'm thinking that the Miami Dolphins, with the Ryan Tannehills of the world, with the Lamar Millers of the world, okay, with the Landrys of the world, with the Matthews of the world, even with the Greg Jennings of the world chipping in and what have you, I just have this funny feeling that Ndamukong Suh is going to get to Tony Romo. Will he knock him out of the game or something? No. But will he rattle him a little bit to the point where he's just not himself, hasn't fully recovered? Will he give us indications and reasons to believe that Tony Romo just may have come back a bit too prematurely, even though he's supposed to be right on schedule because this is right around the time he was predicted to come back anyway? I think all of those things are possible. So from a football perspective, in terms of your astuteness in breaking it down, you're absolutely right. Considering Miami's paltry run defense, combined with the fact they're not that great against the pass and they're not that great defensively overall, okay, I look at it from that perspective, and their inability to really make but so much noise offensively from time to time this year, inconsistent to say the least. I would sit there and say the Dallas Cowboys have every reason to believe they should win this game. But I watched the Miami Dolphins last week against the Philadelphia Eagles. I watched them be down 16-0. I watched them hold the Philadelphia Eagles to 3 points over the last 3 quarters. I watched them neutralize an Eagles offense that, whether it's Sam Bradford or Mark Sanchez, with a Jordan Matthews, with an Ertz or a Selleck, with an Aguilar, with the Huff, with the Riley Cooper, with the DeMarco Murrays of the world, Philadelphia Eagles offense was still neutralized. Why can't the same thing happen in South Beach for the Dallas Cowboys? I'm just of the mindset, Skip, I'm going to go with my heart today, just like you go with yours, even though you're trying to deny it in this particular situation. I'm going to pick the Miami Dolphins to win this game, Skip Bayless, 26-19.
To 19, odd score.
Yes.
But I do love it. Here's what I love about your pick. What I feared the most when I woke up this morning is that you would try to trump my pick, to jinx my pick, by picking my pick.
I thought about it.
I did. I know you did.
I thought about it.
And so now I'm good because if you had picked Dallas, I'd be dead. I'd say, that's it. I'm done. That's the way you could have jinxed me. You had your chance. You cannot take it back. You are on record that now Miami will beat Dallas, and I will love watching you eat those words on Monday at this hour on this show. Thank you.
I think it's important to keep in mind, Skip, that 6 of the last 7 weeks I picked Dallas to lose those games. Okay, and they lost. So I was actually right on the money, to be quite honest with you. So
no Romo, no count.
I understand.
You can just throw them all out.
They didn't count to you. You picked them to win a few of those games.
I did.
You know,
and they should
just let you down.
And if they had Johnny Manziel, they might have won 5 of them. But that's a whole nother issue.
Goodness.
It's okay. I can live with it because thankfully your Giants and those Eagles and even those Redskins participated, played right along with the demise of my Dallas Cowboys to the fact that they also suffered their demises, and they all have 5 losses, and I'm still good. I'm 2 games back in the loss column. Season starts now. No problem. Got it.
Okay.
Cool as a cucumber.
Yep.
The Cowboys have won their last 6 games that Romo did start, including weeks 1 and 2, but Skip, fins up, baby.
Oh, you got him too?
No, I'm just rooting for him as a Giants fan.
Yeah, I got it.
We had a good one at Staples last night. The Warriors trailed the Clippers by as many as 23 points, but it turned out to be the largest deficit overcome in a win this season. Golden State ended the game on a 22-5 run with a 124-117 win. Steph Curry had his 4th 40-point performance this season. Here he is after that comeback win.
This shows the resiliency of this team. on the road against a good Clippers team, down 23, to never feel like we're out of it, fight our way back, get within 1. They go up by 10. You feel like you get deflated at that point, but we didn't. And just had confidence down the stretch and maturity that we relied on starting last year and building and growing into this year.
13-0. Stephen A., how crucial was last night's win for the Warriors?
I don't think it was crucial. I just think it's dressing, just adding icing to the cake that they already have and eat frequently against the Los Angeles Clippers. I just think it's one of those situations where, Blake Griffin ultimately said it correctly. It's not really a rivalry because the Warriors are simply having their way with the Clippers when it counts most. And that's what this comes down to right now. They're walking around as the reigning defending NBA champions. Last night, particularly in the fourth quarter, they were toying with the Los Angeles Clippers. They were having fun out there. That's the scary part about the Golden State Warriors right now. Steph Curry iced it up. I mean, when Chris Paul was absolutely displaying his greatness, going ballistic, when Steph Curry was on the bench in foul trouble, you just saw Steph Curry. You looked in his eyes and you knew that he was going to come out there and he was going to have something to say about the outcome of this game. He was not going to stand around and watch Chris Paul put on this show. Steph Curry showed why he's the league MVP. It wasn't because of his numbers. It wasn't because of the 40 or what have you. It was because you saw that he personalized the challenge that was standing in front of him, and he conducted himself accordingly. And then you saw the troops around him. They didn't just play role of spectators. They joined in on the party. Andre Iguodala, Harrison Barnes, Klay Thompson with that step back 3, which was a beautiful shot on his part. You just saw these guys stepping. Draymond Green, even undersized, playing the 5, being as feisty and competitive as he is, a Tom Izzo kind of guy. You just saw all of that and you just marveled at it, and you just said to yourself, with the Clippers, they have, what are you going to say after this? You're up on your home turf by 23 to the undefeated, reigning, defending NBA champions, and you have a 10-point lead with 5 minutes left, and you still end up losing that game. Primarily, again, DeAndre Jordan is a force defensively with his shot blocking, his rebounding, etc. But because he is the liability on the offensive end of the floor, not just with free throw shooting, but he can't score unless he's dunking, that puts more of the onus on Blake Griffin and Chris Paul. And then I'm looking at Blake Griffin. You embrace the double team. You're spinning through it. You're throwing up ill-advised shots. This dude is a tremendous player and a star in this league. But some of the decisions, you just found yourself mind-boggled. You can't afford to make those mistakes against the Golden State Warriors. The Clippers did. And the reason why the win, again, is more icing on the cake than anything else, is because the Golden State Warriors established what they already knew coming into this game. The Clippers are formidable. They are a team to be reckoned with. But they can't mess with the Warriors, period. And the Warriors showed that in L.A. at the Staples Center last night. A devastating, demoralizing loss for the Clippers. More of the same for the Warriors.
So is it too early in this basketball season to say that the Warriors now own the Clippers psychologically?
I would say so. I don't think it's too early for that, Skip. And the reason I don't say it's too early for that is because the only thing that could change that is DeAndre Jordan becoming a force.
Yep.
How can you become a force when you have no post moves and you can't shoot from the free throw line?
Completely agree.
Then it comes down to Blake and CP. You can't. I think they're owned right now.
I completely agree, which is why it felt to me last night as if the Warriors actually enjoyed falling behind by 23 points with 9:22 left in the second quarter of that game, because they knew deep down they could come back on this team. And they knew deep down if they did come back and beat this team in its house from 23 down, would crush what's left of their confidence against the Warriors. And that's exactly what they began to do. And so we saw CP3 go from doubtful before the game, as we said on the show yesterday, to sure thing in the first quarter, right? He played, and boy, did he play. He makes 7 of his 7 shots in the first quarter, and it looked like the Clippers were going to roll at home. And then what started happening? To me, just as Steph Curry is shattering the mold at 6 feet 3 inches, slim, not all that physical, as the best player in the NBA, that little guy is the best player in the NBA. Their little lineup is the best lineup in the NBA, and I've never seen it quite like this, Stephen A., and I think you haven't either. You realize their small ball lineup, when they played, you mentioned Draymond at the 5, and remember, he led the team in assists last night with 9. He is the point center for the small ball lineup. So you got Steph and Clay and Harrison Barnes and Iguodala, and then Draymond as your center. That lineup averages 6 feet 6 inches tall. Well, in today's NBA, you would say that's impossible. You're going to get killed on the boards, and they killed the Clippers on the boards. For the game, they were up 44-35 in rebounds. Guess who led the Warriors, the visiting team, in rebounds? Steph had 11. Steph Curry, little Steph's.
Unbelievable.
Thin little Steph got 11. Obviously he's got to get some loose ball, hustle rebounds, but 44-35 in rebounds. And those 5 guys I talked about in the small ball lineup, they all in plus minus had plus nights. And the 3 Warriors big guys, Bogut, Ezeli, Spates, the 3 big guys, all had minuses in plus minus. So they're way better off when they play their little lineup with their little point guard Steph as the MVP of the league. And he looks like he's well on his way to winning back-to-back MVPs. I've never seen anything quite like that. I'm running out of superlatives here, but this team, when it came crunch time in the fourth quarter, I don't know if you looked at the box, Stephen A., they made 8 of 9 3-point shots in the fourth quarter. It's like, watch this. Right. We got you here. Steph makes 3, and Clay makes a couple, and Iggy makes a couple, and they just shoot you out of your own gym. It's unbelievable what they're doing.
It is unbelievable, but let's break it down. First of all, when you have a presence like Steph Curry, who's the greatest shooter anybody with sense has ever seen in the history of basketball.
I agree.
You have somebody that you have to monitor. You have to chase him around. You have to guard him off the ball. He's running around screens and picks. He's doing all types of stuff. You've got to contend with that. But then when you have the other shooters around him, keep in mind, Skip, obviously not Andrew Bogut, who only attempted 3 shots and made 1. The other 4 guys, Klay Thompson, Harrison Barnes, Andre Iguodala, and Draymond Green, all shot better than 50% for the field last night. All of them. Every one of them. Klay Thompson had 25 on 6 of 12 shooting and 3 of 5 from three-point range. Harrison Barnes shot 9 of 15 from the field and 3 of 5 from three-point range. Andre Iguodala hit 3 of his 4 shots and both of his three-pointers. And Draymond Green hit 7 of 9 shots. So this level of marksmanship, now obviously they can shoot a little bit, but what helps is that a lot of their shots are open because of how well Steph Curry balls, not just as a shooter, but as a ball handler. You have to watch him so desperately that he ultimately gets a shot to the open man. And even when Draymond Green or somebody else has an open shot, because all eyes are on Curry, somebody else is open. So when they think that the assists are a little bit deceiving because it ain't that. Look, I can average 10 assists for the Golden State Warriors. Just give it to somebody when you walk past half court and watch them shoot. I mean, it's really that simple with these guys. I mean, they're that good in terms of shooting the basketball. But I think, Skip, where you and I need to really point this out on this show, Skip Bayless, I got to look at Doc Rivers. That's my man. You know how much we love Doc Rivers. But the 19-point lead that you gave up by getting outscored 49-9 in Game 6 of that Western Conference semifinals in L.A.
Agree.
You come back. You're here in the Staples Center. You got a 23-point lead against the reigning defending NBA champions who are undefeated. And they come back, and they're literally on the court, just giggling as they're torturing you, creeping up on you.
They were.
And you have no answer.
Nope.
So Doc Rivers, I hate to say this, Doc Rivers has 1 or 2 choices. You're going to have to figure out a way to get more production from a DeAndre Jordan to take advantage of the inevitable mismatch his presence with Blake Griffin on the court would cause. Or you're going to have to make a trade and be able to go small to go up against Golden State. Because I'm here to tell you something right now. As presently constructed, the Los Angeles Clippers cannot beat the Golden State Warriors in a 7-game series.
Yep.
You have to you have to be able to go small at some point. So I'm not talking about Doc Rivers, the coach, because all you can do is design plays, draw plays, motivate these guys, but you can't play for them. But what you can do is you got to get the right personnel, because if you don't, like, look at the last play, Skip. I mean, you know, you got a situation where CP3's on fire, and he's giving up the ball, and then Blake Griffin is holding it for Jamal Crawford to come around, and then some ill-advised shot gets jacked up by somebody. It's like, wait a minute. Who's the hot hand? Who can you create a shot for? We know Golden State can do it. The Clippers can't right now against them. Against everybody else, maybe. Against the Warriors. Clippers ain't winning no title with the Warriors standing in their way. As presently constructed, Doc Rivers might need to make a trade in order to eclipse the Golden State Warriors.
All right, since you went there, last quick point about Doc. I've always raved about Doc on this show. I've always put him right there.
We both have.
With Popovich as one of the top couple of coaches in this league. I've had two basketball, NBA sources I've known for a long time. You know who they are. They're highly respected. And both have mentioned to me in the last week, you sure about Doc? Just like that. You sure about him? Yeah, I think I'm sure, because he beat Popovich last year in the first round of the playoffs. And I was impressed, man. Game 7, Staples, CP3, rose and shone in that game. I give it up. I've been critical of Chris also. But at some point, you're going to have to hold the coach accountable, too, if they continue to fade. They added pieces. They weren't the pieces to beat Golden State, but they added pieces to get better and deeper, obviously, to shore up the second unit. But maybe that's not going to help against Golden State.
It's not going to help against Golden State. Josh Smith, I like Josh Smith. I like Lance Stevenson when he keeps his head on straight. We all know Paul Pierce to be the champion that he is. He was the one that jacked up the shot, driving into the lane off balance, going to the left side of the rim from the right side. I didn't put him in the strongest position. But here's the deal. That's a unit that can supplement your horses. They can't be your horses and beat Golden State. And so when you talk about Doc Rivers, I don't have any questions about Doc Rivers, the coach. Just like I have no questions about his assistants and Sam Cassell and Mike Woodson. Them brothers know what they're talking about. They know basketball.
I agree.
The problem I have with right now is, if anybody wants to question anything about Doc Rivers, it's Doc Rivers, the GM. You got to find a way to get the right personnel to compete with the Golden State Warriors. They are the champions. They are the standard right now. I don't want to hurt your feelings, Skip. Not the San Antonio Spurs. The Golden State Warriors right now are the standard. It's the direction that the league is going in. Even with your Spurs, as elite as they are, Kawhi Leonard is going to be the key, because, Skip, you're not going to be able to play both LaMarcus Aldridge and Tim Duncan against them and stop them. You're not going to be able to do it. They can score on you, but you will not stop Golden State with those bigs in there. You have to be able to go small. Kawhi Leonard is going to be a key. The Clippers don't have anybody like Kawhi Leonard. They don't have that guy that can score and can be a stopper. And that's your problem. Doc Rivers, the president of basketball operations, the GM, he has got to find a way to be able to go small to beat Golden State, because being large with DeAndre Jordan ain't gonna get it done. The Clippers will be perennial playoff contenders going home before the finals as long as Steph Curry and those boys are in Golden State with this roster, because they can't beat them. Not in a 7-game series. They can't do it.
Sorry about this.
No, go ahead.
My Spurs beat Golden State at Golden State early last year, and they beat them late in San Antonio when Golden State was flying highest. I'm sticking with my Spurs.
Meanwhile, in the NFL, the Packers have dropped 3 straight now and are 6-3, 1 game behind the Vikings in the NFC North, who have won 5 consecutive and are 7-2. Stephen A. Will Rodgers, that bad man, save the day?
Skip Bayless, I don't think he has a choice. He's the bad man. You know, I got to admit to you, I'm forced to pick the bad man that is Aaron Rodgers here because I can't imagine what will be said about him if he loses a fourth consecutive game. At some point in time, a level of that's right. Yeah. By you. Well, actually, you're the only one. You're the only one I'm concerned about. There's nobody else that phases me. So it's just the way that it is. But I got to tell you, I'm a bit worried because I look at the Minnesota Vikings, Skip. They have surprised me. Adrian Peterson has been outstanding. That's no surprise. Teddy Bridgewater has been, he's been good. He's been good. And when you look at their defense, man, they just show up. And I can't rave enough about Zimmer. So I'm looking at Green Bay, and I'm like, you have every reason to be able to lose this game, particularly on the road. You're going to have a lot of stuff stacked against you. There's no question about that. And you know what questions I have about Green Bay's defense? It's highly suspect. But I just think desperate times call for desperate measures. And I think this is one of those games where we're going to see and witness the greatness of Aaron Rodgers come shining through because Minnesota being in first place now in the NFC North, you lose this game, in all likelihood, you lose the division to Minnesota. You're right. I think that Green Bay's back's against the wall. So it's like that rat trapped in the corner against that cat. I mean, this is what it is. You're going to run up until you have no choice but to come out clawing and scratching your way out of that abyss. And I find that to be the situation that the Green Bay Packers are in. I have no reason, plausibly speaking, based on what we have seen from the Green Bay Packers, to pick them to win this game. Lacey was out. Starks hasn't stepped in admirably. James Jones, along with Randall Cobb and Devontae Adams, according to the scouting combine, the stats from the scouting combine and the Pro Football Day, when they came out the slowest times of any receiving corpus in the NFL right now. You know how I feel about Richard Rodgers. As far as I'm concerned, he ain't Mr. Rodgers because I can't count on him, okay? So I look at it from that perspective, and I just say to myself, I'm very worried about Green Bay, but I've got to believe that with their backs against the wall, they understand the precipice that they're up against, and I think that they're going to respond in kind because I believe in Aaron Rodgers. If Green Bay loses this game, I believe they lose the division crown. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's that important. I think they find a way to win this game. I'm going to pick Green Bay to win 24-21.
Very interesting. And I admire you for sticking with the bad man. He'd better win this game. You're right. Yeah. And yet, before I make my pick, I went last night through my stats packet from ESPN, and numbers just leap out at me that shock me how bad Aaron Rodgers has been over the last 3 games, or Green Bay has been over the last 3 games. But I look at what's happened with Randall Cobb. From 2011 to 2014, Aaron Rodgers completed 75% of his passes to Randall Cobb, who, when I was rooting against Rodgers, Randall Cobb would just torment me because he always seemed to get open at the most opportune moment. Now, obviously, there was Jordy Nelson to make the big defense stretching plays, but Randall Cobb made a lot of third down catches that just killed me when I rooted against Aaron Rodgers. Now, this year, he's completing only 59% of his passes to Randall Cobb and missed him, obviously, on the 2-point try in Carolina. Then I look at blitzing. First 6 games, Packers 6-0. Aaron Rodgers was blitzed only 20% of the time. And when he was blitzed, he completed 77% of his passes. Last 5 games, he's been blitzed 41% of the time and completed only 52% of his passes. He's crumbling Aaron Rodgers is crumbling under the blitz. The bad man. I'm just stunned by that. And then as you talk about running the football, first 6 games they average 127 yards rushing. Last 3 games, 69 yards. Well, they can't do anything. They can't defend. They haven't had a sack in 3 straight games. And the Vikings have still the best rusher in pro football. The best running back in pro football is still Adrian Peterson. He looks even better than he did maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Now he's got his quickness and speed back. And their defense is just shocking me because it's a top 5. And in fact, it allowed the second fewest points in the NFL. So it's a legit defense under the great Mike Zimmer. I'll give him great because he's long been a really great defensive football coach. I knew him back to his Dallas days. He can just coach defense, and he's elevating in stature into a top 5 defensive coach, even though he is the head coach. So in the end, I say it's going to come down to me, Aaron Rodgers Teddy Bridgewater. I'm sorry, I can't buy Teddy Bridgewater. I just can't. So I'm going to go with you this Sunday because, come on, Aaron Rodgers has to be able to beat Teddy Bridgewater in a big game of this, a big division sort of tilting game. Well, come on, really? You can't beat Teddy Bridgewater?
You know, I hear the conclusion that you're coming to. We're there together. It's just that it's for different reasons. Like, Teddy Bridgewater isn't going up against the same defense as Aaron Rodgers.
No.
So when you say Aaron Rodgers, can he beat Teddy Bridgewater? I know that. Yeah. He's not Aaron Rodgers, but Zimmer and the way, this is the number 2 ranked defense in the NFL we're talking about here. And so when we're looking at it from that perspective and the way that they can get things done, Teddy Bridgewater going up against Green Bay is an entirely different thing than Aaron Rodgers going up against Minnesota. I guess it evens the scales to some degree because Green Bay's defense is suspect. And while Minnesota's defense is formidable, Green Bay has the Aaron Rodgers. But when we talk about, Skip, him being pressured in the pocket, look, Aaron Rodgers has been pressured in the pocket in the past. This is not phasing him. What's phasing him is that those receivers aren't getting open. And he has to hold on to the ball a little bit longer because he's trying to find somebody who's open. But I'm thinking Aaron Rodgers scrambling out of the pocket, Aaron Rodgers running with the football, Aaron Rodgers moving the chains, extending the play, and doing what he can to assist in grinding Minnesota down and working them into the ground. I think that's the kind of stuff that's going to happen, that have to transpire. And not only that, you're going to need it to transpire to keep Adrian do. And so when I look at it from that perspective, you and I both reached the same conclusion. Aaron Rodgers has to find a way to win this game. Because if he finds a way to win this game, if he does not, rather, they have lost 4 straight. And let me tell you something, Skip Bayless. As much as I love this man and as much as I believe he's the most talented quarterback I have ever seen, I can't call him that bad man anymore. He loses 4 straight.
Yep.
I mean, it's a problem. It's going to be a problem. So I'm hopeful. I just think it's one of those situations. Minnesota's the better team because they're the more complete team. But they don't have Aaron Rodgers. And this is the kind of game your star is supposed to find a way to win for you.
Yeah, I agree. But if he does lose, you're going to have to go with me and just call him bad, period. B-A-D, bad,
hanging
period.
up the crown.
Right?
Oh, it's a sad day.
Not if he throws for 400 yards and no interceptions. If he shows up and performs and the defense blows it, that's different. But he has to perform. I'm going to be watching how he performs because he needs to be better.
Okay, last point. I like Teddy Bridgewater. I have never loved him. I didn't love him coming out of his draft, and I told you that. He's actually been a little better than I thought. He does have some poise. I still think his accuracy comes and goes. But under the great Norv Turner, I think he's found a comfort zone that is pretty good, but not very good, just pretty good. And I still say, despite what Greg Schiano said on Mike and Mike the other day, you know, he compared him to a young Joe Montana just in the way he has poise and accuracy and footwork in the pocket. I know where Greg's trying to go with that. It's a little much for me, but
it is a little much.
It's just a little much. I'm sorry. I get the early comparisons, the guy who was kind of overlooked coming out of the draft, Joe Montana, 3rd-round draft pick, of course. But it's like comparing anybody to Michael Jordan. Just stop. It's not fair to Teddy Bridgewater. So in this case, this is magnitude. This is the Packers, the reigning champion of your division, and you get them at home. And it's going to have buzz, and it's going to have hype, and it's going to have focal point on the home team quarterback. And I'm not sure Teddy can live up to that yet. That's just me.
Mal, the only part that I disagree with you about, Skip, is that if you look at Zimmer, they've done a phenomenal job of managing Teddy Bridgewater. Yes, he's thrown 7 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions.
Yep.
All right, the QBR is, what is that, about 63? The quarterback rating is at 84.
Yep.
Not bad. He hasn't even passed for 2,000 yards on the season as of yet. But they have the #1 rushing attack. Even though it's the 31st passing attack, they have the #1 rushing attack.
Yep.
They spend a large chunk of the time moving the chains and running the football and running a relatively pedestrian-style offense, in my estimation, where Teddy Bridgewater isn't required to take but so many chances. I think when you look at it from that perspective, with Rudolph, with Wallace and the crew, I just think that it's one of those situations where you just look at him and say, I'm not sure that's the way to go, because They sort of look at him as a game manager. He's like Minnesota's version of Alex Smith to some degree.
Okay.
And I think if you look at it from that perspective, I don't think it's going to be that much pressure on him. He just needs to make sure he doesn't mess up and lose the game for you. And I think Teddy Bridgewater is good at doing that.
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
In Vegas, Miguel Cotto will make the second defense of his WC middleweight title against former junior middleweight champion Canelo Alvarez. Cotto is the only Puerto Rican fighter to win world titles in 4 different weight classes. But his opponent, Canelo, is on a 3-fight winning streak since losing his only professional bout to Floyd Mayweather. Let's send it out to our ESPN Deportes crew in Vegas.
We're in Vegas, counting down to the Cotto-Canelo fight for first take. I'm Bernardo Osuna, joined by Mexican boxing icon Juan Manuel Marquez. Juan, what makes this fight so intriguing?
I think this fight will be a great fight. The people will see an explosive fight because Canelo is a youth fighter. Cotto has the experience, has he need a level of opponents, great fighters. I think this fight will be an explosive fight.
You don't want to give us your prediction, but why don't you tell us how Canelo can win this fight against the very experienced Miguel Cotto?
Canelo needs to do pressure, needs to throw a lot of punches with a power. Cotto has experience. Cotto has a great opponents in the past. I think Canelo he need to use his legs. He need to use combinations. He need to throw a lot of punches.
It's a 10-year age difference, 35 years old for Miguel Ángel Cotto, who's been in many wars, and Canelo Álvarez, who needs to prove that he is an elite fighter. Stephen A., Skip, Molly, we send it back to you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's Puerto Rico versus Mexico. We didn't get a prediction from Vegas, but we will from Bristol and Philly. Stephen A., who you got?
And by the way, Stephen A., before you go, I'm going to give you the floor to make a Marquez joke about Pacquiao. We just got to have one from you. So we just.
Yeah. Listen. I love Manny Pacquiao because he is so special, and I really like him a lot, and he's so good for boxing. I just love him, but. You know, is he awake? Is Manny okay? That's all I care about.
I know.
Is Manny okay?
Marquez is still wondering. Yeah, you're right.
You know, you don't need Ambien. You don't need Ambien if you Pacquiao. I can tell you that much. Just remember that fight.
Okay.
You'll go back to sleep. Here's the deal.
Okay.
Let's get back to this fight. Skip, this is a tough one, man.
I agree.
Because, see, Cotto can fight. And I'm one of those guys, Skip. Do you remember when Cotto fought Margarito years ago?
Do I?
And Margarito beat him badly because he cheated. He turned his gloves. He loaded his gloves.
Yep.
It was like a cast. I was at the fight ringside. And let me tell you something, Skip. It was a beating, and you knew something was wrong because you never saw Cotto wince like that. And on top of it all, you know, he had to end up getting on one knee and just like bowing out, man. It was vicious, and you knew something was wrong. And for Margarito to cheat like that, as far as I'm concerned, he should have been banned from boxing. All this PDU steroids, all this other, forget all of that. You can't do more harm to a boxer than loading your glove the way that he did. He should be ashamed of himself. Having said that, I think that kind of fight takes a lot out of you. Now, I know Cotto's with Freddie Roach, and we know how much we love and respect Freddie Roach. But I think that Canelo is the bigger, stronger fighter. He's younger. He's faster. I think Cotto could be a better boxer, but not that superior to what Canelo went against when he went against Floyd. If Canelo had never gone against Floyd and went against Cotto without the Floyd Money Mayweather experience, I would pick Cotto to win this fight because I think that he would be a superior boxer. It would be an aberration for Canelo, and Canelo wouldn't be prepared. But after going against Money Mayweather, I don't think that Canelo ever has to worry about going against another defensively brilliant fighter like that again. Because of it, I think he's prepared for this fight. And because he's younger and stronger, I'm going to pick Canelo to win this fight. Now, initially yesterday, I thought it might have been like an 11th round TKO. That's what I was going to go with. But Freddie Roach has Cotto boxing so effectively. I think if Cotto feels Canelo's power, he'll know how to evade it to some degree. So I think that he can avoid getting knocked out. But I don't think he can fight well enough to win. I'm picking Canelo to win this. It's going to be a good fight, but I'm picking him to win this fight by unanimous decision. A relatively close fight. Canelo will win by about 2 rounds, but ultimately I think it will go to distance. He beats Cotto, but Cotto does not get knocked out because of Freddie Roach. That's what I believe.
And I believe the opposite. And it's also very difficult for me, and I went back and forth last night about this. I'm going to go with the boxer here. I'm going to go with experience. I'm going to go with age. I'm going to go with a majority decision for Cotto. And yet,
I don't blame you.
Listen, when I look at the tail of the tape, man, Canelo is shockingly bigger and longer and obviously younger at 25 to 35. And if you look at what Canelo does post weigh-ins, he just balloons back up. So they got the catch weight at 155, and he's going to, he'll fight that night, tomorrow night at 170 something, maybe 171 or 2. Listen, Cotto just isn't that big of a man. So Cotto will fight this fight at 153 maybe, somewhere in that range. So he's going to give up massive weight and about 3.5 inches of reach to Canelo. But I will remind you, Cotto has won his last 6 fights by knockout under the great Freddie Roach, 7-time Trainer of the Year. He has won his last 3 by knockout, and I will give you, and we don't have time to pick it apart, each of those opponents had question marks, had flaws, had issues, so you can pick those 3 knockouts apart. But I just like the way he's looked under Freddie Roach. And I believe that Cotto tomorrow night will be at the height of his prime. He's maybe at the starting to get to the backside of his prime, but the height of his boxing prowess. And I do think, Stephen A., that Cotto is at least in the same echelon with Floyd in boxing brilliance, as a tactician, as a strategist, as not that he's Floyd defensively, but he can defend. But unlike Floyd, I think you would agree with me, Cotto can punch. He can punch a little bit. He can't punch like Canelo, but he can punch a little bit. So he has respectable defense, terrific strategically, and pretty good offense. So I like his package better than I like Canelo's. And you remember 2 years ago, Floyd just took Canelo to school. It was just laughable. And all props to Floyd. He just boxed rings around Canelo. It was just, and again, it was a majority decision. One of the judges called it a draw. I have no idea how, but whatever. Yeah, that always happens. So in this case,
by the way, Skip, he schooled him and he didn't run. He didn't run, Skip.
No.
Floyd didn't run.
No, he did not in that fight. He didn't need to run. Yep. Okay, and to your point about Antonio Margarito, it looks to me like it took about 7 years, but Cotto looks like he's recovered sort of physically and psychologically from that beating that he took that night. And you know and I know he's going to have to withstand a couple of big shots tomorrow night to last through this, and I think he's prepared to do that. So I think on mind and body that he will be a tough matchup for Canelo. And I think it will go the distance, obviously, but in the end, I just think on savvy and skill and accuracy with his punches, which are, he's got his share of power punches too, he'll wear down Canelo. Canelo never looks like he's in great shape to me. I could be wrong about that, but I think Canelo's going to have a hard time staying with Cotto to the bitter end. So maybe some of the late rounds, Cotto will win or even steal, and I'll go majority decision, not unanimous, but majority to Cotto, mind as well as body.
I will tell you this. you may be right if that catch weight of 155 that they're contracted to fight at is something that drains Cotto. I'm sorry, Canelo.
It could.
If it drains Canelo, because see, that's how Manny Pacquiao had his way with Oscar De La Hoya.
He did.
Oscar De La Hoya came in at that 145 catch weight, and Floyd Money Mayweather always said to me that Pacquiao was fighting a dead man walking in De La Hoya because De La Hoya had to lose all of that weight for that fight. If that's the case with Canelo Alvarez, all right, then he's got a problem with Cotto. Because Cotto, I have no doubt, will be in pristine shape. He's experienced enough at doing this where, from a conditioning perspective, Skip, he will be ready.
Yeah.
And Canelo has to be at full strength in order to beat him. It can't be one of those situations where he's completely drained, where he's looking all buff, the six-pack, the eight-pack, and all of this other stuff. But at the end of the day, you're really weak because you had to lose so much weight. That can't happen. Otherwise, you're right. Cotto will win. But I'm assuming both of them are going to be at full strength, experienced and knowledgeable enough to know where they need to be when they walk into that ring. And based on that, I think Canelo at least gets a knockdown and ultimately gets the decision.
Okay. Now I'm going to take you one last place. Last night on SportsCenter, Cotto was asked about potentially fighting Mayweather, who obviously has, quote-unquote, retired. And Cotto made the case, as we all would expect him to, that he could beat Mayweather right now. Under the great Freddie Roach, I believe he could, because I think he could match Floyd, as I just detailed, mind as well as body. And I think right now at age 35, at the height of his powers, Cotto would be a bad matchup for Floyd because he's got some Floyd in him as well as some offense to go with the defense. So to me, there's no way Floyd would even entertain risking a fight against Cotto, as much money as it might make, especially if Cotto wins obviously tomorrow night. But you tell me, would he risk it, and would you give Cotto a shot against Floyd right now?
In fairness to Floyd, he has told me, and Leonard Ellerbe has told me repeatedly over the last several months since fighting Andre Berto, that's his last fight, he's retired. Let's just throw out that caveat.
All right.
Just to be fair to them, quote them, that's what they say. I personally believe Cotto's the one fight he would fight. He would do. And the reason why I believe that is because that's what ultimately invited and sort of provoked the relationship coming together between Floyd and his father. Because his father watched Floyd being trained by his uncle.
Yep.
He watched Floyd take too many hits against Cotto. His father told me this. And he said, I ain't like that at all. I got a problem with this. So he really wanted to get back because he wanted to get back. And it wasn't to knock Roger. Roger, the uncle, has done a phenomenal job, but he's got some health issues, as we all know. That's why the father also got back into it as well. But Floyd also told me that had to change. In other words, he got hit too much against Cotto. Ever since that time, he went back to boxing. Had the Floyd Mayweather that got in the ring with Cotto, Skip, got in the ring with Canelo Alvarez, he'd have got hit. He might have got hurt. I think that he remembers that, and I think that's the one fight that he would do just because he could go into the ring and school Cotto, but it would have to be after Cotto schools Canelo, which I don't think is going to happen. He can't lose to Canelo. He has to beat Canelo, and it has to be a mega fight for Floyd to even consider it. They all, Floyd, Canelo, and Cotto, all of them need to stay away from Triple G, Gennady Golovkin. Don't go near that man. Don't go near that man, Skip. Stay away from him. Everybody, stay away from him. Don't go near him.
Seahawks OC Darrell Bevell was very critical of Russell Wilson's performance in the Seahawks' 39-32 loss to the Cardinals. Here's what he said to Seattle Sports Radio KJR about one of the plays. We had full progression, kind of across the board for that one. We had a chance for Tyler Lockett. We had a chance for Doug Baldwin. And basically, Russell said he just missed it. Bevell also singled out other plays where Wilson struggled during the same interview. Skip, what's going on here?
Stephen A., shocking criticism from the offensive coordinator of the franchise quarterback. So I'm going to give you my armchair psychiatrist theory here. strictly from a distance. Okay, I don't have any inside info. I'm just sitting back trying to read the tea leaves up in Seattle, and this is what I read. As you know, the one thing you do not do in the National Football League as a head coach or a coordinator is publicly criticize your starting quarterback, your franchise quarterback. It gets you nowhere. It does you no good, because we all agree it's the hardest position to play in all of sports, and it's a confidence position. You can criticize your quarterback privately, that's fine, but publicly, no good, because you tear down the confidence that it is required to go from Sunday to Sunday in this dog-eat-dog league that is the National Football League. So my theory is that Darrell Bevell is so concerned, as is his head coach, Pete Carroll, about lingering bitterness, animosity, unrest in that locker room over that last play in the Super Bowl, in which obviously they put the ball in Russell Wilson's hands instead of Beast Mode's hands. You've gone on and on. Worst call in the history of the Super Bowl. And it lingers. It still eats at the psyche of this football team. And they're teetering at 4-5. A lot of people picked them to be in the Super Bowl. You picked them to win the Super Bowl. And it's desperate times, desperate measures, as you said in a previous topic. So, theory. Darrell Bevell pulled aside Russell Wilson and said, I'm going to criticize you on the radio. I'm going to go after you on the radio because I need to send a message to this team. You are not above criticism, because you deserve some criticism for what happened Sunday night against our arch division rival. We blew that game. Maybe he even told Russell. Obviously, some of that is on the defense, but a lot of it's on you. So I'm going to criticize you because we need to clear the air in our locker room and show the defense, that you're going to shoulder your share of the blame also. That's just a gut feeling. So he goes on a big radio station in Seattle, one that's highly listened to, and he tears them limb from limb. It reminded me of Jay Gruden on RG3 last year, when clearly there was method to the madness. Jay just wanted to send the message, he's no good. I got to go with my other guy here. And don't you people see what I'm seeing? So he blasts him publicly, just shreds him, his confidence, and whatever faith Redskin Nation might have had left in RG3. This is the reverse of that, because I think he wants to send a message to clear the locker room air in favor of the quarterback and say, we're all on equal footing here. Just my 2 cents. Your thoughts?
Not bad. Not bad at all. I mean, a couple of points in terms of him doing it intentionally, pulling Russell Wilson to the side, letting him know that that's something that he was going to do. I didn't think of that initially. That's not what popped in my head. So I give you a lot of credit for that, because you might be right. I don't know. You know, I know quite a few players in that locker room. You do. I've spoken to quite a few players in that locker room, over the last year or so, certainly during this season as well. What I would tell you, Skip Bayless, is that when I first saw, I'll give you what I thought when I first saw these comments. I said, the nerve of this man.
Yep.
The nerve of this man. Mm-hmm. After that call in the Super Bowl,
yeah.
You and Pete Carroll, mm-hmm. After Marshawn Lynch's mama had to call you out earlier in this year, yep. when you lost the opener against St. Louis. Suddenly Marshawn Lynch can get the ball now. After watching Russell Wilson get sacked 33 times this year so far, leading the NFL, you got the nerve to talk about him? Let's count the ways. Is it Russell Wilson's fault that they're 18th in total offense? Is it Russell Wilson's fault that they're 20th in scoring? Is it Russell Wilson's fault that they're 21st on third down conversions? Skip Bayless, looking at this number. This is the Arizona game, because obviously a lot of this is feeding off of the Arizona game, right? We got Jimmy Graham dropping 2 passes. We got Marshawn Lynch dropping a pass. We have them committing 8 penalties on offense. Skip, 5 times in the game against Arizona last Sunday night, these guys went 1st and 20 or worse. They had a 1st and 20 or worse 5 times. Okay? That's Russell Wilson's fault too? So I'm like, what's Darrell Bevell's fault? I understand that Doug Baldwin wants to come to the defense of his offensive coordinator, saying he's watch the games, he's making the right calls. There are plays there to be made. Absolutely. Russell Wilson can't be absolved from that. He's the quarterback. There is some culpability. But how the hell is the offensive coordinator get a pass? I mean, with your history, and listen, the Legion of Boom, the identity of this team was about the Legion of Boom on defense and beast mode. And in the Super Bowl, you went against beast mode. So much so, and then you got the offseason that came along, and then training camp arrived, and you didn't sign Cam Chancellor at the time. To the point where beast mode is walking around with a Cam Chancellor jersey on, all right, in support of his compatriot, all right, not to mention the fact that he was threatening to skip the first game, which I reported because that's how disgusted he was that his man Cam Chancellor wasn't signed. Ultimately, you didn't sign him. You didn't restructure his deal. You didn't get him on board. He decided to end his holdout, come back to the team. There's some residue for that. We understand that. But that's the team. That ain't no excuse for the offense to be struggling the way they was. Whether it's Rawls or beast mode, you got Jimmy Graham added to this offense already. And you still looking like this with these penalties, this level of inconsistency. And not only that, Russell Wilson having minimal protection. You know what I saw against Arizona, Skip Bayless? I saw Russell Wilson running for his life half the time because he wasn't getting the level of protection that he needs and that he deserves. To me, that's on the offensive coordinator, too. So if you want to blame and point the finger at Russell Wilson, you might have a point with some plays, but there is no question. The vast onus of it all falls on the shoulder of an offensive coordinator who, as far as I'm concerned, has gotten too much of a pass. The only person that's been willing to call him out is Marshawn Lynch's mama. That's it. And by the way, she wasn't wrong. She was right. Tell me what did Marshawn Lynch's mama say that was wrong? I mean, if you think about it. I mean, you don't give him the ball in the Super Bowl, but you give him the ball against St. Louis. You put him in these precarious positions, running him into the ground. I mean, what is that?
Okay.
So I just look at Barry Bevel. I'm not sold on him. I think he got a lot of nerves calling out Russell Wilson, but all of that doesn't matter if Skip Bayless is right that he pulled Russell Wilson to the side. And said, this is a mechanism I'm going to use. I won't say anything then, but that's the only excuse he has for calling Russell Wilson out.
If he gave him that heads up.
And if you're right.
If he gave him that heads up.
If there's no hidden agenda here except Darrell Bevell protecting Darrell Bevell, this man, he's not just on a hot seat. It's on fire. He's not going to last much longer. Yeah, I'm with you.
That's right.
Brock Osweiler will start in place of the injured Peyton Manning this weekend against the Bears. Since Manning and Osweiler both joined the Broncos in 2012, Osweiler has taken 150 snaps, with only one of those snaps coming in a one-score game, and it was when he took a knee before halftime. Osweiler is taking on a Bears team who is a perfect 3-0 versus the AFC West this season. Stephen A., can Osweiler right the ship for this Chicago squad?
I don't know if he can right the ship for Denver, but I can tell you this.
Yes, Denver, excuse me.
I don't think he'll have to. The fact is that with Aqib Talib coming back with that secondary and that defense going up against Jay Cutler, I expect them to rattle Jay Cutler and to beat Jay Cutler. Osweiler just has to make sure he doesn't lose the game for them, according to the numbers that I saw. And, since he's been in the NFL, he only threw like 30 passes. Threw like 2 touchdowns, one last year, one this year, just last week against Kansas City, and completing 14 of 24 passes. I don't expect him to knock anybody's socks off. I will tell you this. Chicago can beat this team if Denver's running game continues to be what it's been. Ranks 29th in the NFL. C.J. Anderson and Ronnie Hillman really have to get it going. They've got to figure out a way to get their running attack going, certainly in this game, to take some of the pressure off of Brock Osweiler. But I will tell you that I expect this defense to get the better of Jay Cutler so long as they're put in a position where they could potentially win this game. If Brock Osweiler stinks up the joint and they can't run the football either, like they haven't been able to for most of the season, then Chicago can win this game. But I'm going to bet on Denver that Osweiler, a young guy that appears to have some promise, although I haven't seen him. I really don't know what he can do yet. It'll be interesting to see what he does. I'm going to think that the Denver Broncos are going to run the football relatively effectively this week, that others will get involved and they'll be respectable, and that the defense will score at least one touchdown for them. And I'm going to pick the Denver Broncos to win this game 24-20.
Is that more Jay Cutler hate I'm hearing from you?
Sure. Sure. That'll never go away.
Oh, okay.
That'll
Thank you.
That'll never go away completely. I can't help it. I just can't.
Guess what? I'm picking Chicago to win this game because the Vandy man can. This is the year. The Vandy man can. Watch what happens. Jay Cutler, I don't know if you all have noticed.
What?
He is having his best year as a pro this year. And by the way, his new head coach used to coach the Broncos, and his new offensive coordinator, who has turned his life and career around, used to OC the Broncos. Interesting. Jay Cutler was drafted by the Broncos. Oh, this is the first time Jay's ever played against the team for which he first played. Interesting. I kind of like this at Chicago against Brock Osweiler. How much pressure is on this poor kid? I saw a stat here. He's thrown 150 passes. Only one has come in any game as close as one score. So all of his passes thrown in the NFL have been garbage time passes, mop-up passes. And all of a sudden, he's taking over a 7-2 team. Peyton got it to 7-2. And you're going to be expected to carry on with one of the best defenses in pro football against Jay Cutler at Chicago with all those Denver connections. I pity the kid. That's a lot to ask. And I hear great things. I know Gary Kubiak is enthralled with the potential of Brock Osweiler at 6 feet 7 inches tall. I just don't love his chances against this team at this moment in this city. Because this Bears defense under John Fox, I don't know if you've noticed lately, it's come alive.
I have.
They're starting to play. By the way, Chicago is 3-0 against the AFC West so far. Not bad. I know they haven't played Denver yet, but they're about to with Brock Osweiler at quarterback. No offense, Brock, but this is tough duty here. Listen, that Langford kid from Michigan State has also come alive and brought the offensive alive. Matt Forte not happy about that. He thinks Chicago is sort of running him out of town, but come on, get over it, Matt. The kid's electric. He's given voltage to the offense. Jay Cutler seems to have grown up under Adam Gase. I don't know what's going on, but he looks like a star quarterback to me over the last 4 or 5 games. His QBR is by far the best he's had in his entire career, including the stretch in Denver under the great Mike Shanahan. I'm going with Jay Cutler, and I'm going with him convincingly. I'm going to go 27-17 Bears over Brock Osweiler.
Interesting that you say that. You got to remember, Chicago is fourth against the, I believe they're like fourth against the pass. I mean, I'm just wondering about them right now. I'm just looking at some of the guys in their secondary. You got Tracy Porter, Kyle Fuller. That's nothing to sneeze about. Amos and Antrell Rowe being there definitely has been an asset to them. I get all of that. And John Fox knows what he's doing.
He
so
does.
Defensively, they can do something. There's cause for concern. I give you that.
Are you going to change your pick? I think you're changing on me.
Because, no, not at all. Because I'm looking at it from the perspective, Skip, that I think that when you look at Aqib Talib and Chris Harris and those boys, and that secondary in Denver,
they're good.
Plus their ability to get to the quarterback with Von Miller scheduled to be stalking Jay Cutler, I really believe in my heart of hearts that they can do some things defensively to really rattle Jay Cutler. We'll see what happens, but I don't blame you for going with yours. I'm going to stick with mine, though. I think Denver's defense is going to save the day for them against Jay Cutler. I refuse to pick Jay Cutler to win a game like this. I know it can happen, but it just ain't in me to do it, man. It ain't in me to do it.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt. Frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
ESPN. So, before Steph Curry rallied Golden State past the Clippers last night to improve to 13-0, Warriors player development consultant Steve Nash sat down with the San Jose Mercury News to talk about Curry as a player. Here's what he had to say. I wouldn't compare him to Michael Jordan. I wouldn't compare anybody to Michael. But I would say Steph is turning into a historical category of his own. In a way, I think he's unlike anyone else. His ability to make shots and still handle the playmaking duties is historic. He's maybe as skilled a player as we've ever had in this game. Stephen A., high praise. What do you make of these comments?
I have no problem with it. I said it. I stated on the record nearly 2 weeks ago. I think Steph Curry right now is the best player in the world. And that includes LeBron James. It includes Kevin Durant. It includes even Russell Westbrook to some degree, even though I still contend to you that Russell Westbrook, I'm still not backing off of my pick that he's going to be the league MVP. It might be a two-horse race between him and Steph Curry. And I cannot tell you how much I cannot wait to see Russell Westbrook go up against Steph Curry. I want my dream scenario is given. I don't have the schedule in front of me.
Yep.
I really wish that Steph Curry stays on this kind of tear and they're undefeated and then he runs into Russell Westbrook. Because I want to see that. Obviously, I want Kevin Durant with him, but I'm just talking about that point guard matchup because let me tell you something. If there's one guy in the NBA that Steph Curry has to worry about, is Russell Westbrook. You talk about an assassin who is going to rise to the challenge, who's going to sit back and hear everybody talking about and raving about Steph Curry, but will be ready for that challenge. It is Russell Westbrook. It's like that. I mean, this is beautiful. I haven't been this excited. I mean, I love my NBA basketball, but I haven't been this excited about the NBA in years. I don't even know what to tell you, man. Steph Curry's on another level. I mean, this brother right here shoots 52% from the field, 45% from three-point range, averaging 34, pulling up from 30, 35, 40, 25, 50. It don't matter what side of the court or whatever the case may be. He's doing all of that, plus handling the ball, plus running the offense. Steve Nash is absolutely right. And I'm going to tell you something right now. If you want to think about the quintessential point guard in terms of getting other people involved, there's only one Magic Johnson. But if you're talking about actual skills, I challenge anybody to tell me if you've seen anybody better than Steph Curry, who can shoot the ball like this, and by virtue of his marksmanship, his ball handling ability, plus his cerebral understanding of the game and what he's able to do because of his ability to shoot so well in a different kind of way, he has the kind of profound impact on his teammates that Magic Johnson had, that Michael Jordan had. How else can you explain how Draymond Green can be your 5 and Andre Iguodala can play your 4, Harrison Barnes can play your 4, your 3, and you're getting away with that lineup and winning games like this? Certainly the rules changes in the NBA have something to do with this, because if Steph Curry was playing back in the day that Michael Jordan was playing and Magic was playing, they will tell you he'd have got hurt. Somebody hurt him already. Yep. They'd have been like, look, he looks good. He's a pretty boy. Plus, on top of it all, he can play, and he's not buff. Oh, somebody would have hurt him already because they would have got tired of him looking too damn good shooting and scoring like that. I agree. Bam, they would have did something. They would have done something to him. But these are different times, and they don't want to get suspended and lose their money. So as a result, they're not going to do that. And as a result, those rules facilitate his greatness. Yep. Right now, Steph Curry is the best player on the planet. That includes LeBron James, all due respect, because LeBron James can't do what he wants to do, what Steph does, and Kevin Durant doesn't want to bad enough what Steph Curry does. But Russell Westbrook does, and I can't wait for that. I don't care where I'm at, Skip. I'm going to have my chair. I might go to the game, but if I don't go to the game, I just watch it. I will be sitting down to see Russell Westbrook against Steph.
We get that. All right. Back to Steve Nash. Again, before that draft of Steph Curry, I said I would take Steph #1 over Blake Griffin. A lot of people said that's impossible. And trust me, even I underrated Steph at that point because I in no way saw this coming. This was the perfect man, Steve Nash, to ask about what Steph Curry's doing. Steve Nash, I remind our younger viewers, won 2 MVPs in this league. I thought Shaq should have won 1 of them, but he won 2. Impossible. And it's also impossible what Steph Curry is doing right now because, as Steve Nash said, and he's tried to do it humbly, said, I hate to put myself in this statement, but he's taken what I did to another level. Steve Nash had a gear of quickness that was rare and freakish. It was stop and start quickness. It was step back quickness. Steph has taken that to another level. And to your point about buff, again, he's eclipsing LeBron as the best player in the league, and Steph is slim at 6'3". He doesn't play with power. He doesn't necessarily play with spring. Russell Westbrook can jump out of the gym and plays with attack the basket power. He's pretty ripped in his upper body. So he's taking the man's game that is pro basketball, Steph Curry is, and he's turning it into the ultimate finesse game, really a below-the-rim, shoot-the-ball-from long distance kind of game. We've never seen anything like this. So I appreciated that Steve Nash is saying he's creating a historical category we've never seen before. Yeah, all of this is new ground is being broken here. This is a new frontier, and there's only one man in this frontier, and his name is Steph Curry, and he's just entering his prime. It's not like he's 32. He's just getting started. He will get better.
Skip, stay with me real quick for 1 second. One other point that I want to make in bringing up Russell Westbrook. Let me tell you why I'm doing that. Because Jordan had the Bird, the Isaiahs and the Bad Boys, and ultimately Magic. Sure. All right, Magic had Bird. Julius Erving had those dudes in his way, et cetera, et cetera.
Got it.
Steph Curry has to have somebody in his way. Russell Westbrook is averaging 28, 10, and 7.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's an assassin. So watching Steph go up against him is going to also tell us a lot, too.
All right.
That's what I'm saying.
I got it.
It's going to tell us a lot.
It will.
You guys always say that I'm obsessed with him and all that. You guys are obsessed with him, not me. But you're the ones who talk about them every single day. We prepare for them the same way we prepare for every team that we face. Do I obsess with them and all that? You guys write about, I've lost 7 of 8, so why are you even talking to me? We got no business being on the same field. That's what you said. I've lost 7 of 8 against them, so don't talk to me.
Rex Ryan getting testy with the New England media during a conference call on Thursday. Skip, what's your reaction?
Stephen A., my reaction as a Brady fan is it scared me. I thought that was real. I thought that was Rex at his best. Rex at his scariest to me, again, as a Patriot supporter, is not showman Rex, carnival barker, look at me Rex. It's angry Rex. And that was legit anger there. And I'm going to tell you, I'll preface what's going to happen Monday night in Foxborough by telling you the scariest game to me left on the schedule is not at Denver, it's not at Jets, it's not even at Dolphins, that last game. It's this one on Monday night in Foxborough, because I think the team built the best with the right attitude and the right quarterback to upend Tom Brady and company in their 16-0 pursuit will be this team and this coach in this mindset.
That's fair enough, but I think one of the things you're missing, Skip, is that anger that Rex Ryan feels inside of him. He's a bit delusional or trying to give off, delusions of grandeur when he talks about how he's not really paying attention, to the fact that, he's treating them like any other team. They're not any other team to him. They're a team within his division that has dominated him since he has been a head coach in the NFL. They've beaten him 8 of the last 9 times. They keep winning division titles at his expense. And he came into the NFL as a head coach talking about how he's not here to kiss Bill Belichick's ring.
Yep.
And everybody remembered that. So it's those kind of statements that have come back to haunt him because he's had no choice but to kiss the ring, because since Rex Ryan has been a head coach, the Patriots have been to 2 Super Bowls and have won 1. And they keep winning the division every year, where that's not the case for him. So they're not only successful, but they're successful on his watch, within his division.
Yep.
And all the bluster and bloviating has amounted to nothing. And nobody highlights the ineptitude of Rex Ryan better than Bill Belichick and the Patriots.
I hear you, but the one coach who has tormented Tom Brady over the years the most is clearly Rex Ryan. Now, he did bloviate ahead of the game early this year at Buffalo, and he got it stuffed right back in his face by one of the great Brady regular season performances of his entire career. But it was 40-32. Tyrod scored 32, some of them late. But Tyrod, I don't think he's afraid of Tom Brady in his own way.
That's true. But they were down 37-13 before New England got a little lackadaisical.
But 3 of those TDs, half of those total yards are from players that can't go. Julian Edelman, Dean Lewis. So we will see. See you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend. Appreciate you listening to the podcast. Catch First Take weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern in the re-air at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2.